When my parents took me home from the hospital, they took me across one with scrubs. Some people think that that's just a prison, but it's actually a pretty decent park. I opened my eyes and I looked up at the sky and immediately started screaming and crying.
I love the market days with my mum in Portobello. There would be so many things to see. Every item had so much history behind it.
I'm the new Ladbroke Grove generation, raised on overpriced brunch, L-bangs and elf bars. A lot of venues around here have shut down. I remember there used to be this really cool bar called The Nectar. Loads of cool musicians would play there and you could smoke inside. At the closing party it was absolutely rammed, but it's still shut down and once again we lost a gem. I remember hanging out here after I played a gig at the bar across the road. We had our little after party here. I also remember when me and my ex were on our first date, we sat here and this man came up to us and was genuinely confused by why I was so small. He thought he was hallucinating.
Next to McLaughlin, there used to be a restaurant called Burger and they had the best plantain fries and chicken wings. They were to die for. Me and my homegirl used to go there and have a little giggle about whatever crazy stuff happened on the weekends at a party.
When my parents came here, the area was rich with music culture. My dad used to have pints with Joe Strummer, but the area's changed a lot since then, even since when I was younger. This used to be a place you could rent DVDs.
Whenever I'd go to Woolworths, when no one was looking, I would steal some pick and mix. My friends will tell me they do the same.
My dad came down here from Scotland because he wanted to hear dub blasting from massive speakers. I'm sure many people around here have the same stories because we've all come from far and wide. Growing up around here, it was like growing up with a massive extended family who weren't related to me. Sometimes I see my mum's friends pop in for a cheeky fag when I go to Bossman's.
3 a.m. when you find your bus on the way home after dancing for hours at whatever rave would feel like being delivered by angels because you know that you'd be home in a minute. Walking through Grove at 3 a.m. felt so alive even though it was so empty.
Me and my mum used to come here every record store day. We'd queue for hours and then buy a shit ton of records.
Sometimes me and my friends would be struggling to find somewhere that we could smoke our zoot in peace, obviously avoiding adults. We'd always go in whenever our friends would suggest meanwhile gardens because to us it'd be a last resort. You'd never be able to smoke in peace here because you'd always find yourself in the middle of crazy encounters. There'd be drunk people arguing, people smoking crack, and then also 10-year-old kids trying to hustle you for some weed. It was always a lot of chaos whenever we were here.
I used to go to this school and they blew all their budget on Joma and candles, but we'd have to reuse workbooks and all the art supplies were broken. We were banned from McDonald's and legend has it that it's because someone ran in there, smashed open the glass donut case and stole about 20 pounds of donuts one afternoon in 2003. Anyway, the school kicked me out in year 9. And when kids are out of school all day, there's not much to do other than drugs. So we'd just sit on these stairs and bunk off.
When I got kicked out of school, me and my dad would walk down this canal all the way to Camden and just watch the moorhens and the birds and stuff.
I remember one time me and my friends were here and this 10-year-old on a bike asked us if we wanted to buy hash. And I just said, isn't your year 6 disco soon? So I remember at carnivals when I was little, this bowl would just become a playground for the kids with a sound system next to it. And I'd just be not even skating, just dashing around the bowl.
The lights of fire trucks flashing blue in the evenings was common growing up. They were usually there to put out a fire happening in Grenfell. Sometimes it would be daytime. Me and my neighbours were children watching the firemen spray water through their windows from the block ledge.
I love my community, but with love comes grief, and we've seen far too much of it. I remember my dad waking me up one morning and telling me that building down the road was on fire. We lost a lot of beloved members of the community, and I don't think anyone's fully recovered since. I don't think it's been the same since. The thing is, when people think of Ladbroke Grove, they think of people like me, pushing white. But the people who built our community, literally brick by brick, are from all over the world. And there's some of the most marginalised people in the world living here. And I think people forget that. And I'll never forget how the government failed them.
When I was a kid, I used to come to Maxilla Social Club for the bonfire night every year in the November. I miss it now. It was such a good way for the community to come together. I remember my dad buying me a sparkler and just feeling like on top of the world. Ever since the Maxilla stopped, me and my friends would go to Scrubs instead and set off fireworks. One time someone set the firework wrong and then they went horizontal, and the way we had to run for our lives was that something else.
Every year at the Tabernacle, they do a local panto. All of the characters join in. Mick Jones usually does a couple of songs. At the end, everyone sings that Christmas song by Slaves. It's a classic, and all of the kids during the panto scream, "It's Christmas." Legend has it that Lily Allen was one of those kids.